Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teele. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teele, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Caregiver Solutions Info Program on caregiversolutions.info or on your local radio. I'm glad you could join us however you have joined us. I'm so glad that you're here. Every week we provide education, advice from experts in the field, from other caregivers, lots of different types of information that maybe you as a family caregiver can glean something, just a tip, maybe an idea, a thought, something that's going to help you in your caregiving efforts, because caregiving is not easy. Actually, it's very, very difficult. And if you're a family caregiver and you're caring for someone with dementia, Alzheimer's, it's not something that you've learned to do just because. It's something that you have to do, and you're thrown into it, and you're forced in many ways to deal with it. And it's something that no one understands unless they're a caregiver too. It's very difficult to impart to other people what you're going through. And so this show, Caregiver Solutions Info Program, was born just for you, the family caregiver, so that you can participate with us in helping to provide more care, better care, have peace of mind, have the knowledge that's going to help you. And so we're so glad that you joined us. We are live from Boca Raton, Florida, and we're going to start off with an announcement. So I have a question for you. Have you ever thought, wouldn't it be nice to have all in one room access to a neuropsychologist, a financial planner, an elder law attorney, and a dementia specialist, all in one room, so that you would have them just to your liking and ask questions and learn? And wouldn't that be great? Well, you have an opportunity to do that locally. We have here coming up on May 20th a caregiver boot camp. And this is something that you as a caregiver can come to free of charge, have access to all of those named specialists, learn from them, and ask them questions. So mark your calendar for Friday, May 20th from 10 o'clock a.m. to 11:30 a.m. It's going to be local at the Delray Community Center. It's called the Shirley and Barton Wiseman Delray Community Center, located at 7091 West Atlantic Avenue in Delray Beach. Now, this is something that I would strongly encourage you to come to if you can, if you're local and you can attend this workshop, because it will definitely benefit you, and you'll be able to ask questions, meet some of these experts in the field that can help you through all different kinds of challenges that you may be facing or that your family member may be facing who is a family caregiver. So in order to RSVP, we'll make it very easy for you. You can do it by email, and that email address is delray@arden-courts.com. So Arden Courts is sponsoring this. We're one of the sponsors, along with the elder law attorney, the neuropsychologist, and the financial planner. So email delray@arden-courts.com, and secure your seat at Caregiver Boot Camp on May the 20th from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Also, if you have a question that you would like answered on this program, any comments, something that you would like us to talk about, again, you can also email delray@arden-courts.com. Send me a note. I'll be glad to reply to you and answer your questions. So that being said, we're going to follow up this week with the rest of a talk that we began several weeks ago called How Do I Navigate? Which path do I choose? When it comes to choosing different care options for your loved one, it's not easy, and there are different pathways to different care options, and it can be very confusing which way to go. We're talking about, do I stay home with my loved one and care for them? Do I choose home health and have someone come in to help me? Do I go to an adult daycare center for the memory daycare center to get a break and have my loved one attend there? Do I go to a memory care assisted living, or do I choose a nursing home? These are many options, and caregivers face these choices every single day. Not only are you looking at where to go, but when to go, how much does it cost, how do I pay for it, and when do I know when it's time? So we started this presentation a few weeks ago, so we want to finish up. And before we go to where we left off, I would like to give an update and review a little bit for those who have not been privy to our previous program on this topic. So we're talking about Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease can last 2 to 20 years. It takes a big toll on family caregivers, and 60% of people with Alzheimer's disease will wander at some point, so we have that to deal with. Alzheimer's disease is very unpredictable. No one can tell you when it's going to strike, how long it's going to last, how fast it's going to progress. There are a lot of variables, and it's very unpredictable. And currently, there's no cure for Alzheimer's disease. So we're going to be talking about these care options because as a family caregiver for someone with dementia, you're going to be faced with this in the future. And so as care increases, obviously cost is going to increase. And there are stair steps. So as the level increases with the care, the level of cost also increases. So obviously you want to start with a smaller level to take baby steps because, that's the way it progresses. As the disease progresses, you're going to progress in your caregiving options and your care plan. So we pretty much discussed that staying at home without help for too long is really not an option. Why? Because the caregiver can get chronically stressed out and overwhelmed. Their health suffers. They get no sleep. They get some sleep, but maybe it's not enough sleep or not enough deep sleep. So then they're failing in their caregiving efforts because they can't function right. Their social life will also go downhill, maybe because they don't have time for a social life or they feel guilty if they do have a social life. There's also a possibility of an abuse situation. If you're the only one and you're taking care of someone, there can become a conflict at home. Conflict happens a lot when you're dealing with a caregiver caring for someone with dementia because it's normal to not understand the changes in someone, especially when you've lived with them for a very long time, as in the case of a spouse. All of a sudden they're changing and the dance steps have changed. It's like you go through your life, you've been married for many, many years, and all of a sudden the music changes your dance because Alzheimer's has changed the music in your partner's head. And before, you were great dance partners, meaning that you could move with each other. You knew which way to zig and zag. So if your partner did one thing, you knew how to react. Of course, this is an analogy. But all of a sudden, when the steps change, because the Alzheimer's changes the music in that person's head, they're dancing to a different tune, and you don't know that tune. And now all of a sudden, you're stepping on each other's toes because it wasn't the way it used to be. And so if that describes you and you're frustrated, believe me, it is normal and very common. And that is not a place that you want to be without seeking help. So don't let that happen. If conflict starts, learn how to deal with it. If you have difficulty managing behaviors and challenges at home, you want to start with some care. And the first option where most people start is actually in the home, having help come into the home. And there are a lot of reasons why you would want to do this. First of all, it can be flexible to your schedule. You pick the times that you need. Sometimes it's only a few times a day, a few hours a day, a few days a week. You pick the time that works for you, that works with your schedule to help your loved one, to give yourself a break. This is called a respite care. Respite stays for people that need a break. It's a very good idea. Don't feel guilty about it. Caregivers need to take breaks. They need to walk away and do something nice for yourself. So having help in the home will allow you to do that. There's no contracts when you have a home health person come into your home. You don't have to specifically say, I want this amount of time. You don't have a contract. You do agree to a certain amount of money, but you are flexible in the days and the hours that you do that. They can provide this respite for you so you can go out and do social events, have a good time, see a friend, go to a play. Even if you want to lock yourself in the bathroom and take a bubble bath, having someone in the home to keep your loved ones safe, to keep them from wandering, is a very, very good idea. So that would be one of the first options that you would want to start with. And we strongly encourage you to do that. There are lots and lots of different home health companies. Matter of fact, there's hundreds of them. If you open up the phone book, you will find so many. The home health aide can help with that heavy lifting. You don't have to take someone to a place, so this is convenient for you. They come to your home. If you go through the proper channels to find the right caregiver, you want to make sure, of course, that they're bonded and licensed and they have background checks. But all that being said, you're going through proper channels to find somebody, then you'll have more peace of mind knowing that you have help. So all of that is very, very good. There are cons to having help in your home, of course. One of the most frequent ones that I see a lot is that a spouse that has help, all of a sudden, instead of taking care of their own spouse and they have help in the home, now they're feeling like they have to oversee two people. Good case in point, just today, I got a call from a daughter who said, yeah, we tried home health. My mom, is caring for my dad, and my mom's 85, dad's 93. So we got some home health coming in, and my mother called me, and she was so worried because she said, what am I going to feed? I'll call her Alice. What are we going to feed Alice, the caregiver? Because I just found out she's vegan. I don't know anything about that. I don't know what we can cook. And the daughter says, Mom, don't worry about Alice. Alice will take care of herself. Alice knows what she can eat. She'll provide the food. You don't have to worry about the caregiver that you've hired to take care of Dad. You just need to worry about yourself. So this is very common. And sometimes that puts an extra level of stress on someone who has care coming into the home because it's kind of natural. You want to make sure that that person is doing what you would want for your loved one and making sure that they're doing it your way. But it doesn't have to be done your way. As long as it's done, it might not be your way. It might not be in the time frame that you would want it. And it might not be exactly the way you would do it. But as long as it gets done and the job gets done and the end result is the same, then you kind of have to let it go a little bit and let them do their job. So that is something that you want to be careful of if you have someone come in the home. Really let them do their job. There are some caregivers that worry about people stealing, people taking advantage. Again, you want to make sure that they're properly vetted by going through the right companies and asking all of those questions. A lot of times if you have care coming into the home, one of the cons about that, the negative, so to speak, would be that if it's not consistent, if you don't have someone coming in every day at the same time, you could have multiple caregivers. And with multiple caregivers, it could create some anxiety in your loved one because it's not a consistent face they see all the time. And sometimes the different people coming in and out of the home, the different faces, they're not familiar. That will create some anxiety, a little uneasiness. Sometimes personalities don't match up together. So if you're going to choose a home health, you want to make sure that you get a chance to interview the person who's going to be taking care of your loved one. Put them together. See how they interact. You want to see how they can relate to each other. And that's very, very important, because if that person isn't relating and they don't have a personality that's going to click with your loved one, or they don't understand enough about dementia and how to care for someone and take care of those behaviors, then you don't have the right caregiver. And you want to call the agency or the company and say, you know what, I don't think this is a good fit. Let's try somebody else. And don't be afraid to keep doing that over and over again until you find that right fit. It's your right. You have the prerogative to do that as an advocate for your loved one. So that's a little bit about caring for someone, having help in the home, getting some help. Most people start there. And then sometimes people just have an aversion to having someone come into their home. They just don't want someone there. They want their privacy. They don't want anybody hanging around. And that's understandable too. So if that's your personality, another option for care would be adult daycare centers. Adult daycare centers are located different areas. Wherever you live, you may have to Google that or look in the phone book. Here in South Florida, we have a lot of adult daycare centers, and they're dementia specific for people that have memory loss. Now, a good thing about going to adult day centers is, again, there's some flexibility. You can choose the day, and you can choose pretty much if you want all day or half day, and you can choose if you want 1 day a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week. And that is good, because once you decide on day care, you actually take your loved one to the daycare center, you drop them off and give them into the hands of the caregivers there, and then you have the freedom to go about your day taking care of what you need to take care of. And this is very good, especially for adult children. So if you're an adult child and you have a parent that has dementia and you cannot leave them alone, and you are working or have other obligations that take you away from home, then adult daycare center is a great option for you. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to finish up with this option and tell you lots more. So stay tuned.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help, because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. Make First Choice your first choice for home health care. First Choice is state certified for Medicare covered services such as medical treatment and rehabilitation. Qualified healthcare professionals come to your home and work closely with your doctor to build a care plan designed to get you back on your feet as soon as possible. Founded and operated by registered nurses, First Choice Home Health is dedicated to providing exceptional home health care. Their highly skilled medical professionals have the knowledge and ability to provide patients quality care. Call First Choice Home Health at 561-296-2770. That's 561-296-2770. And tell them you want them as your first choice. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888 565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
And we're back talking about which path do I choose? How do I know which care option is best for my loved one, and what are they? And so we're talking right now about adult daycare centers. There are a lot of advantages to going to adult daycare centers for your loved one. In addition to the fact that they're licensed and they're available and it's flexible to you, other things that really are beneficial to your loved one is the fact that they're interacting with their peers, with other people that also have memory loss, and they have that opportunity to have that peer-to-peer contact. Also, they have activities there. That's what they do. And so they're able to get stimulation, probably more than at home, or more that you could do, or more than a caregiver at your home could do, because there's other people and there's interaction. So those are really, really good advantages to going to an adult daycare center. And it also eliminates the worry of a no-show. If you have someone coming to your home, what if they get sick, they have a flat tire? You know, they're no-shows, and all of a sudden now you're stuck. So this way, adult daycare center is a very good option for you, and I would strongly recommend that. So after adult daycare centers, the next step after that for a care option would be going to a memory care assisted living community. Now, I really do believe in adult daycare centers as a first step for one really good reason. Besides the ones that I just mentioned, it does help with the separation between the caregiver. And when you have a primary caregiver, such as a spouse, and they're with you day in and day out, they are tied to you like with a string. And you can't move very far away without them wondering where you are, where you're going, and they follow you around sometimes like a little puppy dog, and you do not have your own time and your own privacy. And so if you start your loved one in an adult daycare center, you're starting that separation a little bit every week, maybe a little bit during the day, so that not only you can get your respite, but that person can understand that they'll be okay without you. And it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. Yes, they may ask about you, but they're going to find out on their own that they will be okay without you. And what's the advantage of that? The advantage to that is that when it's time to actually move into a memory care assisted living community, they're going to be already used to being away from you, being away from home for a while, and understanding that they can depend on other people for their care, for their safety, for their comfort. And that's a huge advantage. And I find that people that come into Arden Courts or come into other care units that have already gone into adult daycare center seem to transition a little bit faster and a little bit easier because of that situation where they're not, for the very first time, being separated from their primary caregiver. So memory care assisted living is the next option, the next level. With that, it's available 24/7. They never close, so they're there weekends and nights and holidays, unlike an adult daycare center that closes at night and closes on the weekends and closes on holidays. So that leaves you as a caregiver more freedom for you to pursue your task if you're working, to go away, to visit family, to travel, knowing that you have peace of mind that you can leave your loved one in the hands of experts that will care for them 24/7 and know what to do and how to handle things, and call you if there's a need to call you to give you information or to report anything that needs to be reported to you. So you actually learn to let go a little bit, and it's very helpful for caregivers to let go. Because if caregivers don't let go a little bit, you're definitely going to get overwhelmed and burned out, and you won't be there for your loved one. So in a memory care assisted living, the physicians come into the assisted living, so that's helpful too. So you don't always have to take your loved one out to the doctor's office, which can be very difficult. The doctors come to them. Going into a doctor's office, sometimes even though you have an appointment, you're there for an hour or two, and it's very difficult with someone that has dementia to sit and to be focused and be patient, because that's not, usually one of the traits that go along with dementia, especially in the early stages. So memory care assisted living can actually be more affordable than having home health, someone in your home 24/7. So if you add up all the cost with having someone come into your home and then compare that to all the advantages that you get in a memory care assisted living with everything that it has to offer, you will see right there that possibly that you have more value in a memory care assisted living for even less cost. So the advantages going into a memory care community are very, very high. There is one other option, and that's skilled nursing. Now, skilled nursing is the last stop. That is where people go before they go to heaven. That is a care, but it's usually for people that are either at end stage dementia, where they're no longer appropriate to be in a community for assisted living, or for other reasons, they're in a long-term setting, which for skilled care, it's we call it skilled nursing facility, but the skilled part, a lot of that time, that is included with rehab. In other words, if you go into a skilled nursing facility for rehab, you're getting physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. But if you're in there for long-term care, you're not really getting the skilled part, especially under Medicare. You're under what they call custodial care, which is private pay out of pocket. So a skilled setting for someone with dementia is the last stop. It can be avoided many times by going into a memory care assisted living first, because many times people can stay in a memory care assisted living until they go to heaven, especially if maybe they have hospice come on board, if that's an option. And most caregivers would actually prefer to have their loved one stay in a assisted living for memory care rather than go to a skilled nursing facility. It's more like home. It's less clinical. It's been their home for some time, and everybody wants to remain at home. And so the assisted living is their home. And so hospice can come on board that way too. And one of those options you're going to face at some point down the road. You may not have to face all of them, but certainly those are the options that you have in front of you. So going now further, how are these care options paid for? Well, in the home, if you have care coming into the home, you can have caregivers through companies. And if you have long-term care insurance, then your policy will cover that under home health. If you don't have long-term care, certainly you can benefit from having friends and family come into the home, but that's not going to last too long, and you certainly don't want to overburden your friends and family with that. So most of the time, people will look at out-of-pocket for that, but if there is a veteran, you want to look into VA benefits to see what kind of benefits are available in the home through the Veterans Administration. And also Medicaid, if you're qualified, do provide home care in the home, sometimes limited and all of that. It's very, very specific, but there are some cases where you can get home care in the home under Medicaid. Adult daycare centers. They're private pay, out of pocket. Again, long-term care insurance, if it's included in the policy, will pay for adult daycare. Medicaid, again, if qualified under the Medicaid Managed Care Program, they are contracted with some adult daycare centers. Now, in South Florida, or in the state of Florida, Medicaid is going to be different rather than you assuming that it's going to be the same everywhere. It's not. Medicare is the same across the United States and all the states, but Medicaid benefits are different. So if you're listening from another state, it's going to be different than what I may allude to in the state of Florida. So Medicaid is different state to state, and you need to find out what your Medicaid policy and benefits will provide in these different situations. Now, memory care assisted living, again, private pay out of pocket. Medicare does not pay for assisted living, what it does pay under Medicare for the doctor's visits, but that's no different than a doctor seeing you, whether you're in a memory care assisted living or if you're in the doctor's office. It's still considered an office visit, and it is billed to Medicare like an office visit. So Medicare does not pay for memory care, assisted living, or any assisted living for that matter of fact. If you have long-term care insurance will have different benefits depending upon what's included in the policy. So you really have to look at those to see if it includes home health, if it includes the memory care assisted living or regular assisted living, and if it includes nursing home. Some policies are all inclusive. They include all of those different care options, and some only have maybe one or two. So you definitely have to look at that to see what your long-term care policy includes. So that is another option. And again, in Florida, there are some assisted livings that actually participate in the long-term care managed care program. Again, contact your state for that. Now we go to the skilled care. How do we pay for that? Again, private pay if you're under custodial care, long-term care if it's in the policy, VA possibly, and Medicaid possibly. So that's how you pay. The most important thing is, when is it time to make a change? Now, this is very hard for anyone to understand because there's no right or wrong. There's no black or white. There's no one right answer to this question. When is it time to make a change? Meaning, when is it time to go from one care option to the next care option, and then from that care option to the next care option? And this is what we talk about, is navigating the path. How do I know when it's time to start? How do I know when it's time to stop? The short answer is before a crisis happens. So as far as knowing when to start, you want to do that before a crisis happens. A lot of people wait too long to get help, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a crisis situation. Someone fell, they're on the floor, they can't get up, and maybe, it would have behooved them to start their plan a little sooner so that they could navigate and go through the path on these different options rather than all of a sudden be thrown into a crisis situation and be thrown into maybe a particular care option that wasn't in your plan or that you don't really want. For instance, someone falls and all of a sudden they go to a skilled nursing facility and they're going through rehab. But maybe if, you had started a little sooner and gotten some help and gotten your resources and getting your ducks in a row, sometimes these crises can be prevented because you actually are incorporating people that are experts in the field to help you along the way. Unless you're an expert in dementia and Alzheimer's care, you need to ask the experts because that's their job. They want to impart to you. They're people that work in this field and they have the knowledge of dementia and Alzheimer's care. I would say they most times have the heart for it too. I don't think anybody chooses to go into dementia and Alzheimer's care without having a heart for what they do. And so, in my opinion, you want to ask for help because don't wait. You just don't be a martyr and don't wait and don't think you can do it all on your own because it takes a village to help someone, to care for someone with this disease. You have to look at the quality of life. Now, the quality of life, I'm not talking just about the person with the disease. I'm talking about the caregiver too. And I call it your scale. Is your scale balanced? And when you're deciding when you need to make a change, you want to look at the scale. You want to see, this is me, this is you, the caregiver, and this is my loved one with the dementia. And in a perfect world, the scale would be exactly balanced. We have the scale with the two sides, on the chain. And in a perfect world, and everything is good, your scale is balanced. But if you notice that one side of the scale tips down or the other side of the scale tips down, representing you or representing your loved one, that means something is off. That means something needs to be done, some change needs to be made to get it equal again. Because your goal is to have quality of life for both you and your loved one. So if you're overwhelmed and you're feeling sick and you're not well and you're having medical problems and your loved one is fine, well, your scale is not balanced. So you need to get some help and do what you have to do to get your side of the scale up to balance it again. On the other side, if your loved one now, they're having some more challenging behaviors, they're frustrated, they're agitated, they're angry, things are happening, they're starting to be combative, whatever the behavior is, their side of the scale now is down. So you need to look at what needs to be done to bring their side up, again, to balance that scale, because you want quality of life for both of you. The situation is different for everyone. The decision is different for everyone. Like I said, there's no one right answer. There's no one right time, because everybody has different coping skills. Everybody has different personalities. Everybody has different thresholds. So we have thoughts to ponder. When it gets too hard for the caregiver, when you're up all night, when there's negative behaviors, when there's wandering, when there's incontinence issues, those are some things to think about, like, wow, maybe I really can't deal with this. Maybe I don't want to deal with this. When would it matter to you if the person, is not there? What's your threshold? Some people have thresholds to say, when I have to clean up, in the bathroom because they missed the toilet, when I have to clean the poo off the walls because they've, put it all over, not knowing what they've done. People have different thresholds. What's your threshold? You want to make sure that you get help before you get to your breaking point. And if you're a caregiver and you're ill, think about what the stress of caregiving is doing to you, because stress will kill. And if it doesn't kill you, it's going to really affect your ability to be an effective caregiver. So those are some thoughts to ponder. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this.
Do you need the advice of an elder law attorney, but perhaps find it difficult or overwhelming getting to appointments? The solution is the Elder Law Department. They bring elder law to you by meeting with you in the comfort of your own surroundings to discuss your personal situation and family needs. In practice since 1994, Heidi Friedman is a member of the Elder Law section of the Florida Bar. She and her team help families with issues that include incapacity and estate planning, asset preservation, veterans benefits, and other legal issues that seniors may face. Call the Elder Law Department at 954-383-1143. 954-383-1143. They bring elder law to you. Make First Choice your first choice for home health care. First Choice is state certified for Medicare covered services such as medical treatment and rehabilitation. Qualified healthcare professionals come to your home and work closely with your doctor to build a care plan designed to get you back on your feet as soon as possible. Founded and operated by registered nurses, First Choice Home Health is dedicated to providing exceptional home health care. Their highly skilled medical professionals have the knowledge and ability to provide patients quality care. Call First Choice Home Health at 561-296-2770. That's 561-296-2770. And tell them you want them as your first choice. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
I'd like to thank our local sponsors and our national sponsor, Art & Courts Memory Care Community, for making this show possible. Art & Courts is a leader in memory care, and they'd like to offer you a free book to you, the family caregiver. Art & Courts takes care of people with memory loss, but they also want to take care of the caregiver. And this is one way they can help by offering you this free book. It is available just for the asking. All you have to do is call their toll-free number, which is 888-478-2410. That's 888-478-2410. Tell them that you heard about this offer on the Caregiver Solutions Info Show, and they'll make sure they get a book mailed to you. I would highly recommend this book. We've been offering it on our program, and we've had a great response. People are enjoying this book, learning a lot from it. The 36-hour day, if you don't have it in your home, you want to get it, and it is full of all kinds of wonderful information and tips for you, the caregiver, to help make your caregiving challenges a little bit easier. So we're talking about pathways. What are our care options? How do we navigate? And now I just want to stress to you, be proactive and not reactive. Because if you wait too long, then your choices are going to be limited as a caregiver. And you don't want to have limited choices. You want to be able to pick what's the best at the right time. So make a plan. A plan is essential. Even if you never have to execute the plan, or you don't have to execute the plan right away, at least if you have a plan, you'll be prepared. Again, be proactive and not reactive, and you'll have a lot more peace of mind. So we talked about all these different care options: in-home care, adult daycare center, memory care, assisted living, and skilled nursing or long-term care in a nursing home. What does it cost? I'm going to be throwing out some numbers to you. These are in general and not to any one specific community or facility. And this is also in general to the South Florida area. If you're listening in another part of Florida, if you're listening in another part of the country, these rates, these costs are going to be different depending upon where you are. So for in-home care, hourly fees, they usually charge by the hour. Hourly fees can be $12 to $20 per hour. In South Florida at this current time, it's about $14 to $17 per hour, depending upon the type of the provider and the different services that are rendered in the home by the provider. The adult daycare centers, the average daily cost is $60 to $75 a day. Now, in some adult daycare centers, there are sometimes scholarships available that people give grants, and people give donations, which can offset some of those costs. So if you're looking at adult daycare, you want to ask about those, maybe scholarship or a donation that's been earmarked just for adult daycare. So that could help out with that. But in general, it's $60 to $75 a day, and that usually includes lunch. Memory care assisted living. It can really vary depending upon where you go and what it looks like, what the services are, what the quality of care is. There's so many variables. And we've done programs on this particular show about how to choose a memory care assisted living and what to look for. In general, anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 per month, depending upon whether it's a private room, a shared room, sometimes shared by 2 people, sometimes shared by 3 people, and sometimes shared by 4 people. Different amenities, different programming, different quality and quantity of staff, different levels of care that are required, miscellaneous charges, and medical service available. So there's a big range in memory care assisted living. So that's why it's a little hard to just kind of budget that, because you don't know what's involved until you go and you choose a place after extensively doing your homework. And if you would like more information about that, or you missed our show about how to choose a memory care, I'll be happy to talk with you about that. Or you can go onto our archives on the caregiversolutions.info website and pull up that, and you can learn about how to choose. Now, the last place is the long-term care nursing home. If you're paying privately, you're looking at $8,000 to $10,000 a month, $8,000 to $10,000 a month, whereas a memory care assisted living, $3,000 to $7,000 a month. So you can see the jump in price because of the jump in the care that's necessary. These are what's in Florida. I know in New York, you're looking at a lot more money. In the northeastern states, care is more expensive. So you want to be aware of this, and you want to investigate it and see if that fits into your budget. And if not, then you need to do what you need to do to plan and make your plan. So it's all part of navigating which path to choose. Lastly, on this topic, I want to talk about caregiver burnout. Caregiver burnout is something that we all need to be aware of, and there are 10 signs put out by the Alzheimer's Association of caregiver burnout that if you are a caregiver or you know a caregiver and you recognize some of these signs in yourself or in somebody else that you know, it's time to start looking at getting help and looking at these different care options and starting somewhere, okay? You just got to start somewhere. So I'm going to give you these 10 signs of caregiver burnout. Number 1, you begin to curtail visits and phone calls with close friends. You're not talking to your friends or even your family for that matter. You're isolating. Number 2, you have given up hobbies and activities that you have enjoyed for years. That's not good either. Again, you're stressing yourself out. You're not giving yourself time for yourself. You're not getting that respite that you need. Number 3, you are developing stress-related problems such as back pain, headaches, chronic feelings of fatigue, depression, definitely caregiver burnout. Number 4, you are coming down with colds, the flu, and other illnesses more than usual. All right, your threshold, you've reached your threshold and you're not able to fight off, the germs and the things that are coming down the pike because you're too stressed out and your immunity system is compromised. So that's another sign. Number 5, you have a short temper. You'll find that you're getting mad in the checkout line at the grocery store, in traffic. You start having road rage, yelling at other people, talking to them under your breath, or even to family and friends. You're blowing up. You have a short fuse. This is definitely a caregiver burnout signal. Don't let that happen. Yes, we all get fatigued. We all get tired. And we're going to get mad sometimes, but if it's chronic, if it's happening all the time, definitely pay attention to this. It's not a good thing. Number 6, you have outbursts of anger at your loved one with Alzheimer's when he or she behaves erratically or becomes difficult. We know it's difficult. It's going to happen. You're going to have some conflicts. But again, you don't want to take it out on your loved one, right? You don't want to take it out. Unfortunately, they're there. They can't help their behavior. Their disease is causing it. They don't mean to frustrate you. They don't mean to not remember what you told them. And it's just a situation that you have to understand it's not them, right? And so if you're having these outbursts of anger at your loved one, that's some of that conflict that can happen in the home because your loved one's going to mirror you. So if you're getting stressed out and you're yelling and screaming, guess what? Your loved one's going to start yelling and screaming back to you, and then all of a sudden you're in a conflict situation that could be dangerous, actually, and you don't want that to happen. Number 7, if you've gained or lost weight unintentionally. Some people eat when they're stressed out. Some people don't eat when they're stressed out. So whatever your personality is, if you're gaining or losing weight unintentionally, then it's probably caused by the fact that you're so stressed out that you're not eating properly. And by not eating properly, too, that's going to cause some of these other negative behaviors to come out, like the anger. Number 8, you have an unshakable feeling of despair or pessimism. And you are just down in the dumps and you don't feel there's a way out and you're so overwhelmed that you're just so despaired and nobody can help you and you just, you want to die, you want your loved one to die. That's definitely a time to get some help. There are mental health counselors and therapists that actually can help you as a caregiver, and most of the time it's even paid for through Medicare. So you can get help for yourself and it won't even cost you. You just have to ask for it and be open and willing to be a participant in that. You don't want to get yourself so down and depressed and despaired that it's going to affect the whole situation. That is just bad for everybody. Number 9, if you're crying for no reason or over minor problems, again, drop of the hat, just crying, get some help. And if you complain about lack of sleep or chronic insomnia, again, you need your sleep. That's how we regenerate ourselves. That's how the brain, revives itself. When during sleep, they can put things in perspective. And if you're not getting the sleep that you need and you have insomnia, that's a bad thing too. So we're going to take our last commercial break, and we'll have some little tips when we come back.
Do you need the advice of an elder law attorney, but perhaps find it difficult or overwhelming getting to appointments? The solution is the Elder Law Department. They bring elder law to you by meeting with you in the comfort of your own surroundings to discuss your personal situation and family needs. In practice since 1994, Heidi Friedman is a member of the Elder Law section of the Florida Bar. She and her team help families with issues that include incapacity and estate planning, asset preservation, veterans benefits, and other legal issues that seniors may face. Call the Elder Law Department at 954-383-1143. 954-383-1143. They bring elder law to you. Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
One of the best ways that caregivers can learn is from other caregivers. I've shared a lot of information with you today about care options, which path to go, what does it cost, how do I know when it's time, and that's fine. But there's nothing like learning from another caregiver. So there are caregivers who have actually written down some of the things that they feel are important for other caregivers to know. And we have a list of caregiver tips. So all of this information is great, and you're going to need it at some point or another. Just don't let everything overwhelm you. And that's why you need to take time for yourself, and that's why you need to make a plan and start. Be proactive and not reactive, because even all the information that you're going to be learning can in itself be overwhelming. So you have to take it in baby steps. You have to take it one day at a time and just be prepared. So in our few minutes we have left together, I'd like to share with you caregiving tips that were actually written by other caregivers. Get enough sleep. It's vital to take care of yourself. Exhaustion makes it harder to cope with the patient's demands. Eat well and pay attention to nutrition. Keep medical appointments and follow your doctor's orders. Set aside some personal time just for you. Find ways to put enjoyment and relaxation into each day. Big one here. Join a support group. Make friends with others in similar situations and share your concerns and helpful hints. Cultivate patience. Becoming angry and frustrated will only make the situation worse. Let family and friends help. Ask them for help if they do not offer. Do not let yourself become isolated, as no one can do this alone. Learn about community resources and make use of community support. Plan ahead for emergencies and the future. Consider an elder law attorney. Consider utilizing private or subsidized in-home respite care, individual counseling, and daycare programs. And lastly, be realistic. Feeling guilty about what you cannot do may keep you from doing what you can. And I think these are very, very important caregiving tips. I totally agree with all of them. I think we touched on a lot of this today in this particular topic that we've shared. And again, take a tip or two. You can't do it all in one day. You can't do it all by yourself, but you can do it. And so I want to encourage you to take advantage of that. I want to encourage you to keep listening, keep watching the show. Get the 36-hour day book by calling the toll-free number and stay with us. We'll be back, same time, same place, next week with more Caregiver Solutions info. And in the meantime, don't forget, give someone a hug. They need it, and so do you.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teele. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.